State sports leader. This is WGEM Sports.
We are just 6 weeks away from the college football season kicking off for Western Illinois. How's it going? And welcome to WGEM Sports. I'm Kyle Ainsworth. The Leathernecks, they will enter the 2026 season under third-year head coach Joe Davis, who currently holds an 8-16 overall record as the man in charge. But going into this new season, Davis and his team will return 18 players that have started games for the Leathernecks, while also adding another 19 guys to the roster who have all started in games at the NCAA level. So experience, well, that's something all Leatherneck fans can look forward to. But when it comes to this team's identity, well, Coach Davis, he says the trenches is how this team will make a name for themselves.
Offensive line, the defensive line, everything starts up front. We certainly build the team inside out. And so offensively, being able to run the football consistently, defensively, being able to stop the run consistently, is what we're all about.
Last year, WIU was 7th in the conference in rushing yards per game, while they were also 9th in the conference in rushing yards allowed per game. So certainly an area that could be improved on, and if there is improvement there, well, that could help WIU have more success in one-score games. Last year, going 3-4 in games decided on 8 points or less, which is something Coach Davis is already looking to improve on.
Finding the margins, being able to control the controllables, finding ways to finish games. We had 4 games last season where we had leads into the fourth quarter and lost it. So being able to finish those games out, find those small details that that really add up to becoming a winning program each and every Saturday.
The Leathernecks will open up their season on Thursday, August 27th at home, hosting a Northwestern College. The OVC, they also released their 2026 preseason coaches poll, with Western Illinois being awarded 23 points overall, ranking them 6th in the eyes of the OVC coaches. Tennessee Tech, who is no longer part of the OVC, they won the conference last year, going 8-0.